excited to have you on the podcast, especially for our 150th episode. I've been trying to get you on here for years. I doubt you're even aware of that, are you? I think there's probably like 10 emails in your spam folder or something.
Thank you so much for having me. And I haven't seen an email, so maybe it's in my spam. I'm apologizing on behalf of my spam emails. I'm really glad to be here today.
Oh, no, I'm only joking. I have badgered your agent a few times, I think. So I'm just like, we have to get Rachel on. She's so amazing. Is it 2 cookbooks you've got now or 3?
I've got 2 cookbooks, but hey, let's get another third one out
2.
there. I've got 2.
I think we should. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got over, is it over 700 subscribers on YouTube now?
Yeah, 700,000
yeah.
on YouTube. I don't know what's on my Instagram. Definitely not much on my TikTok. I'm a bit behind on TikTok.
Oh God, yeah, that's a whole different world for me. I'm not even venturing into that yet. But I mean, you kind of have that dream job, don't you? You know, so many I know like my son's like 11 and he just dreams of being like a YouTuber. And I think a lot of people could think, oh, it would be amazing to be able to make money from what I love doing. How did you get into it all? How did you get into vegan cooking?
Well, so getting into the cooking was so separate to the YouTube. I wasn't watching YouTube. I think that was the problem. So I went vegan, and at the time, like YouTube was about, but it wasn't like you go on YouTube for cooking videos. It was like random cat videos, random funny videos, just like really random stuff. And so when I went vegan, I was like, I don't know how to cook vegan, but I don't want to eat animals anymore. So how the hell do I make dinner? And also my mum studied nutrition, so I was always very conscious that when I eat plants, I want to make sure that I'm kind of hitting all the notes to make sure I'm feeling full and I want to enjoy this. So how do I make good food? And I'd search online and I found a few people on YouTube, like very few American and Canadians sharing recipes. But it still wasn't food that really resonated with me and my culture and food that I just loved to eat. And I went vegan and I just started cooking and I just started playing and experimenting, and then I was into the cooking. And then I was kind of like a little bit frustrated because I went vegan because I found out what was happening to our environment, which was just a shock to me. I found out how my chicken ended up on my plate, which again, complete shock to this London city girl. And I'd had an experience where I cut out dairy as a teenager after having health issues, after seeking out professional help, doctors, specialists, paying for private, had some keyhole surgeries, some investigations, and not one person mentioned nutrition to me at the time. And I just didn't have any answers. It was like an investigation. And it was like, we can't find out why you're in so much pain. And my mum, who was a bit clued up on food, she just said, I think you're lactose intolerant. Cut out dairy and see what happens. And because I was in so much pain, I was just like, okay, let's try it. I don't want to give up hot chocolates. I don't want to give up cheese, but let me see. Changed my life. So when I went vegan and saw how that can affect health, it was already, I'd seen how food affects you. So then going vegan even more so, I was like, this is so interesting. I want to see how my body does. So then when I'm cooking, I want to make sure my food is nutritious and making me feel good. So I start sharing it, and then I get frustrated because my family, my friends, the communities that I know, Black community, eating chicken every day. I ate chicken every day. And there was so much lack of awareness of how food affects you or where it comes from, like from my family and friends. Excuse me. Getting rid of a cough. So I wanted my friends and my family to see the plant-based way of cooking the way that I saw it, in still having food that was nostalgic to my culture, but nutritious, and like throw that kind of joke like, what do you eat? Celery. And I'm like, I eat more than celery, for goodness sakes. So I thought, let me just share what I make on YouTube and see what happens. And at the time, I had a degree in business management, but I didn't study film or media or anything creative. So I went on YouTube to figure out how to film and get lighting and get sound, and how I can just do this on the weekends when I'm not at work. to share as many plant-based recipes and just see if it helps people, because I feel like we need to eat more plants. And at that time, I didn't really know like financially where that would take me. It was just kind of like, let's just see what happens. I love it. I want to share it. I'm passionate about it. Something will happen. I don't know what it is, but let's try. That's how it started. That was really long. I'm really sorry.
No, I love it. Do you know what? There's just nothing better than hearing people's stories, because it's always just so. And sometimes I get really tearful because I'm like, oh my god, it's so amazing. I just love that. And now it's your full-time career, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just brilliant that you could, yeah, that you can actually like make a living from what you're so passionate about. I just love that. Um, it's so funny, isn't it? You go to the doctor, and I've been a few times lately because I think I'm sort of like I'm like, well, I don't think I'm 44. I am 44, but I think I'm kind of perimenopausal.
Right.
So I've been to the doctor a few times, just like I don't feel quite right. I've got this and this and this. They never ever ask what's your diet like. And
No.
you just think, surely this is relevant. Like, for all you know, I could be living on salt and vinegar crisps, and that's all I eat.
Literally.
And
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? They literally don't ask anything. So yeah, I just find it amazing. I mean, it's brilliant that you had your mum there. How's she been?
Absolutely.
Has she been really supportive? Is she vegan now, or?
Yeah, so at the time she wasn't vegan, and she said to me, "Oh, when I went vegan, oh, that's so cool. I had a feeling to raise you and your brother vegetarian, but I felt like I was looked down upon for doing it, and I just didn't really know anything about it. But I'm really glad that now you're vegan." Like, she was just excited for me, and she's kind of like living through me, and like I'm cooking all this food, she gets to
Yeah.
eat it all. So before you know it, she was vegan. But she was super supportive,
Brilliant.
so I
Well,
was really
I don't
lucky.
think you bless her. Yeah. I mean, I think things are changing, but was this sort of 10 years ago? So
Yeah.
it was before kind of it was a bit more mainstream, a bit more acceptable. Perhaps it was still a little bit like, what? A lot of
It was
people are like,
definitely still
why are you doing
what?
that?
Definitely. It was definitely still trying to find, when I cut out dairy, trying to find a dairy free milk. Oh my goodness. I had to find like the back corner street with the cute little holistic shop.
Yeah.
Like, no major supermarkets had anything for me. So it's just changed so much since then, even.
Crazy, isn't it? Now you've got potato and pea and hemp and every kind of milk you could
Everything.
ever imagine. Yeah.
Everything. Too much choice now. You literally look at it and go, wow, okay. Where do I start?
I know. Yeah, yeah, but we mustn't complain.
No, never, never. I'm
um,
all here for
yeah.
it.
So tell us about some of your favorite things to cook. So you've got kind of Caribbean influences and African influences in your cooking due to your heritage.
Yeah, so my dad's family St. Lucian, and my mum's mixed race, and her mum is from Wales and her dad is from Sierra Leone. So going to a different family member's house was a very different experience of what I was given to eat. So a lot of my food is the excitement in my food came from my Caribbean roots, and my grandma from St. Lucia. She was such a good cook. She cooked in schools and hospitals, and
Oh,
my
lush.
mum and dad actually wanted her to open a Caribbean shop before I was born, because she was such a good cook. So I kind of feel like I've passed on, like she's passed on some of her taste buds to me, I like to
Yeah.
think. And that's where like my excitement for food comes in Caribbean cooking. It's like the smell of Caribbean flavors in a house is like home to me. It's like a big, warm, cozy hug, and it's just everything. And then when it comes to West African food, particularly, that's like my learning my roots venture, because my granddad isn't here today and I've not actually been to Sierra Leone yet. So it's like me trying to connect to a part of me that I haven't been that connected to as a kid. And then my Welsh roots,
Mm.
I've been to Wales loads of time. So I mix through it all.
Forget
And
Wales.
then obviously, yeah, well, no, I didn't say that. Don't tell my grandma that. But living in London, there's just so much culture and cuisine from like going to a different friend's house after school. You don't know, like you have Indian, there's just so much cuisine. So it's just built in me and I love it. And I think that's where my love of food kind of just is bursting. I actually, the first
Yeah.
recipe I made where I got into food was in a hostel in Colombia, and I had arroz con coco, and I'd never had anything like it. It's where they like burn coconut milk and cook it down with rice. Not burn it like, but caramelize it. Cook it with rice, so it's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
And then they served it with like fish. I wasn't vegan then, and patacones. Anyway, I just had this rice that I'd never had, and I was in my hostel making it
Yeah.
over and over. And this was before I could like YouTube arroz con coco, so I was like just winging it. And that was when like I was like, damn, I'm really into cooking all of a sudden. Like I'm in this hostel full of people I don't know, like kind of standing in the corner trying to caramelize coconut milk and add rice while everyone's just trying to make their meals. It was good time.
I love, Caribbean and African cuisine. It's just so colourful and packed with flavour, isn't it? It does get you excited. Even just looking at a plate of it is like, just, I don't know. Yeah, you just kind of, it's, yeah, it's exciting. I think my daughter has just, she's 16, bless her, nearly 17. She's just got her first boyfriend, and he's
Oh,
from Turks and Caicos. And I know, and he's so sweet. And he came over for the first time on Saturday, and I was like, me and my husband were a little bit nervous. We're like, oh my god, what should we cook? And we asked him, and he said, he's kind of suggested some things like rice and peas and those classic sort of Caribbean dishes. So, yeah, it was my first attempt at Caribbean cooking, and
oh
I
yeah.
think I kind of pulled it off. I did like jerk tofu,
Oh.
like raw slaw with pineapple, fried plantain, which I managed to find, and the rice and peas. But the rice and peas were really mushy. Do you think I put too much coconut milk in?
How do you make rice?
Probably terribly. Well,
Do you have like
I cooked
a
it
ratio,
in.
like ratio of like rice and liquid?
No, I just threw the rice in and then poured the coconut milk in. Rookie
Mm,
error.
yeah, probably Rikiera. Like
Yeah.
experienced cooking with rice, like you can eyeball it, but if you just want to make sure you get it right, it's a ratio game. Like the easiest way when you're
Okay.
serving for guests. So obviously you want to wash your rice. Then let's say you get like
Yeah.
one measured cup of rice. You just want to do just under double the amount of liquid. Then
Okay.
you put the liquid in, bring it to a boil, pop the lid on top, leave it for 10 minutes on a low simmer, pop it open,
And
perfect
then,
rice.
because
Oh,
yours on your website looks so good, your rice and peas. I was just like, mine did not look like that.
sorry. It's a
Yeah.
measuring game. It's a measuring game, I promise you. If you do it again, measure your liquid and measure your rice,
Okay.
and you're
Yeah.
gonna you're
That
gonna
makes.
do it great.
And what else do you put in yours then? Do you put like kidney beans, spring onions, things like that?
Yeah, so okay, wash your rice, then to a pan, get some coconut oil, cook down some garlic, some spring onions, some allspice berries, but grounded. So, what do you call that again? What do they call it here? Oh, well, no, it's pimento,
Grounded.
allspice. Okay, allspice.
Okay.
Then you can also add in some ginger. Not everyone adds ginger. Add in some fresh thyme, and you just want to cook that lightly in the pan. And then you're going to mix in your rice, mix it all together. Then you're going to get your coconut milk and some water, but the right ratio to make sure you don't get mushy rice. Season it with salt.
Yeah.
Add a Scotch bonnet pepper that you can take out at the end, and it's just going to flavor the rice and peas to add a nice warm heat. If you chop up the Scotch bonnet, it might be a bit too hot for some people. So if you just pop it in and then take it out at the end, bring it to a boil, reduce to a low simmer once it starts boiling, pop the lid on top, let it cook for 10 minutes. Take the lid off and it should be perfect.
Okay.
Turn off the heat, leave the lid on, and just let it sit, not cooking, just in its own way, and it's perfect. I hope that helps.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure there's people listening as well that will. It's not just. I feel like very selfish getting tips for myself, but I think it's such a classic dish, isn't it? That a lot of us sort of know about and perhaps eat when we're out, but we wouldn't necessarily cook it at home. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh
it
my god,
seems
I
so
forgot to
well
say add.
nutritionally balanced.
Yeah, I forgot to say add the
Sorry,
beans
Karen.
as well. Sorry, you just add the beans in with the liquid at the same time. But yeah, it's great. It's
Okay.
well, here's the thing. Being Caribbean and African, there's two major rice dishes that call my name. Is jollof and rice and peas. And arguably, jollof is even better than rice and peas, depending on who you ask. I don't know if you've ever had jollof before.
Okay. No, I don't think I have. I know what you mean though. It's kind of I'm picturing it and I'm getting
It's
hungry.
like a
I need to give that a try.
it's a rich, tomatoey, spicy rice that is just top tier flavor. Absolute A1.
Mm, okay. Right, I'll give that a go. Um, just quickly before we get on to your work with Juice Plus, because we're going to be talking about algae, aren't we, and seaweed.
Yeah.
Your jerk oyster mushrooms on your Instagram look incredible. Where do you buy oyster mushrooms? Because a lot of the time, like some of us, sadly, myself included, don't necessarily live near, you know, kind of supermarkets that have these kind of things. So can you make that with other types of mushrooms? And what tips would you share for making it?
So, one, if you're looking for jerk, do you want to know where you can buy the oyster mushrooms? Obviously, it depends on areas. My go to places, farmers markets, online, like Ocado, and online, because in stores,
Oh
depending
yeah,
on your area, they don't always have them.
yeah.
But if you can't get the oyster mushrooms, if you cook portobello mushrooms, there's different ways to cook them. If you cook them, slice them down, and you cook them to release the liquid. Once you get rid of the liquid, then you add like a jerk sauce or any spicy sauce, and you cook it until you slightly caramelize it. The goal really is to get as much liquid out of the mushroom before you try to caramelize it and add flavor. Otherwise, you get more like
Okay,
a soupy, soggy mushroom, which is not my cup of tea, but
yeah,
might be someone else's.
yeah. And you've got your own jerk sauce, is that right?
Yeah, I'm working on it. So I've sold my first batch. My second batch is coming soon. I wanted to create a jerk sauce that was versatile. You could use it for like you had a big plate of food and you just wanted something spicy to dip a chip in or dip anything in like a hot sauce, but also you can cook it with some vegetables or even if you wanted to make other things. But really, it's great on vegetables. You can grill it. It's spicy, aromatic. A lot of the ones you buy in the store, they have a lot of sugars or a lot of bad oils, and I wanted to make one that was not like that, but was really flavorful. So that's my jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so do we need to keep an eye on your website for that? Because I'd love to get
keep
hold
an
of
eye.
some.
Yeah, I have big plans, and
Okay,
I as soon as I do, I have to let you know, and then you can serve it for
definitely.
your
Me
daughter's boyfriend.
first. Bless him. I'm going to make him watch this because he's not vegan and he also eats a lot of chicken. So I'm going to be like, listen to Rachel. She knows what she's
Yeah.
talking about.
I need to come and cook for the whole family. That's what I need to do. I need to
Well, that
convince
would be
him.
great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, like I said, you've been working with Juice Plus and to create some recipes that have got algae in them, which is
Yeah.
something. I mean, is algae the same as seaweed?
Yeah. So it's just all sea plants, which I find really interesting
Right.
because when I was working with Juice Plus on this, I thought it was really fascinating because particularly when I was pregnant, I was looking for omegas, different ways I can get omegas because I needed all the brain food that I could get,
Mm,
especially with carrying a little baby.
yeah.
And it was quite hard to find vegan versions. And their version is completely
Mm,
vegan, straight from the source of algae. And what I also just didn't connect the dots as well is, people, you buy fish oil to get your omegas, but where do your fish get the omegas from? By eating sea plants.
yeah.
So why am I?
Yeah.
Why don't we just actually eat the sea plants themselves, and that way we get the omegas that
Yeah.
we need? And on top of that, which is what I find really interesting about different sea vegetables, is they have like similar properties of addicting umami flavor profiles. So, in a lot of brothy soups, adding sea vegetables adds a whole different depth of flavor to your food that like Japanese culture gets it. They've been doing it. They've been giving us the best broths and noodles, but the association isn't really that the sea vegetable, which is nutrient rich, is actually kind of creating this mouth-watering umami flavor that actually cooking with sea plants is incredible, not only for the health benefits, but for the flavor. And Juice Plus actually done a study and they found that a third of Brits don't actually know what algae is. And I mean, we all know what fish oils are. Why didn't we know more about algae? So that was a really exciting project
Yeah,
to work on.
yeah, so true. And we're an island. We're surrounded by water, so we must have tons of the stuff,
We must
presumably.
have tons of the stuff.
But yeah, I wouldn't recommend just going and picking up a bit of seaweed off the beach. Stick to Juice
Yeah,
Plus. But
yeah.
what are some of the different types that you what are some of the different
Ooh,
types that you include in your cooking then? Like for so one of the most basic would be nori, right? Like most of
yeah,
us
that's the
vegans
one
now
everyone
use
knows.
nori in our cooking.
So yeah, we use nori because I mean a lot of people love making sushi and vegan sushi, but there's also what's
Yeah.
the name?
Dulse, is it?
Yeah, dulce. That's incredible. It's like
Dulce?
purple and you can buy it dried. I've actually blended it and then mixed it in with some dumplings, vegetable dumplings, and the simplest ingredients, but that umami kick from the dulce, incredible. Like so easy to
Yeah.
incorporate. You've also got like Irish sea moss and the amount of studies that are going on now to figure out just how many minerals and nutrients on top of getting your omegas are in these. It's kind of like one of those no-brainer ingredients that we should be eating, consuming regularly just for like a mineral hit as well as an omega hit. So
Yeah.
yeah, dulce is really readily available. Um, there's just a lot.
Is that yeah. Sorry if I'm pausing. I think there's a slight delay, so I'm kind of like waiting.
I've realized, yeah,
Is kelp, is that another one? Is that
yeah, kelp is another one.
something that
They
you cook
eat
with?
Yeah, you can. There's so many different ways you can kind of incorporate it. You can ground any of it and just season your salads, season anything, smoothies, sprinkle it on top, keep it nice and light. Or you can incorporate it into your hot soups, hot broths, curries, stews. And again, I think there is an idea that maybe it would be too fishy. Um, I don't think so. I think it's more of an umami kick, and you can kind of go step by step to how much you want to add and kind of find the right balance for yourself. But you'd be really surprised at how enjoyable it is when you cook it nice ways. I mean, you can check out my reel where I did the dumplings. Honestly, hand on heart, absolutely delicious. Like, even when I ate it, I was even surprised at how delicious it was with such simple ingredients. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes it can taste really fishy, and other times, like you say, it's just that umami flavor, and it doesn't at all. I had they do a seaweed salad in yo sushi, and I had it once, and it was so good. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and then I picked up
Mm,
the same seaweed salad. So it was yo sushi, but it was sold in like Tesco's or something, and it was so fishy. I literally couldn't eat
that's
it.
a
So
shame. Yeah.
I think it's just, yeah, I think it's just about experimenting, isn't it? Because I think, a lot of people are a bit, like, oh, seaweed, no, I can't do it. But I think just, yeah, give it a chance and experiment with the different types and, and different ways of cooking it.
I
Do
would
you,
definitely say
do
for a
you,
beginner who doesn't like a fishy taste, especially I think a lot of people who are vegan, plant-based diet don't particularly actually want a fishy flavor, which I completely get. I
yeah,
definitely recommend dulce to kind of introduce you because I never find it too strong. I think it's a really nice subtle umami flavor.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you ever cook fish alternatives, like tofu fish? Because that's like tofu wrapped in nori, isn't it? And there's like so many things you can do now.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I've got a recipe for that in my first book where you kind of you get some tofu, you stick some nori on with some like lemon, season it with salt and soy, batter it, deep fry it for that proper like not fishy, but like this is nostalgic to a fish and chips and really blooming delicious. So
Yeah.
the creativity is there. Like you can add it to everything. There's no limits with vegetables. I feel like when it comes to like cooking can be intimidating. Cooking with like meat and fish, you have to be mindful about things going off, how long you've cooked it. When you have vegetables, you can do everything. You can
Yeah.
cook everything and you don't have to worry about poisoning yourself, basically.
Yes. I know, it's so true. And, they're so much cheaper. Like
Yeah.
some of my sort of, my like one of my sisters isn't vegan or vegetarian or anything. And yeah, she'll be buying, meat and fish and stuff. And I'm just like, how much? It's just insanely expensive. And if you overcook, whatever piece of fish you've got, that's 5 to 10 quid down the drain. Whereas, like you say, if you're experimenting with vegetables and you kind of mess up a little bit, you're not wasting quite as much money, and you're not, yeah, like at risk of undercooking it
Yeah.
or things like that.
I know. I always find it so interesting
um,
how this is still like assumed that plant-based eating is way more expensive. And I'm like, I don't know, man. The price of chicken versus chickpeas, I don't know. Quite different.
yeah, definitely. I think people have been going a bit crazy for vegan prawns, haven't they? Have you tried any vegan prawns?
I
Because I
have
know a lot
not, no.
I'm in a lot of the. No, I need to find out who does them, because I think a couple of the supermarkets released like sort of prawn mayo vegan sandwiches, and everyone was going mad for them in the Facebook groups. But no one can track down who's making these vegan prawns. We need to recreate it. I guess like mushrooms would be like oyster mushrooms, maybe.
Oh my
Would
goodness,
that
yeah. Have you ever
maybe
had
be a good.
like fake calamari but just oyster mushrooms? Oh my goodness.
No.
Because they can be quite chewy. If you get the king oyster mushrooms and
Yeah.
you kind of, they are deep fried, seasoned with some spices, nori, sprinkle some nori on top. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
heaven. So good.
Lush. Okay, well, you're going to come round and you're going to cook me the prawns. Going to do the Caribbean feast.
Yeah, that's what I'm due to share
I
with you,
love it.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, Rachel, it's been so nice to have you on the show. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before you go?
No, I mean, thank you so much for having me on. I like really appreciate it. I haven't
Oh,
spoken on a podcast in ages. I feel like motherhood is really took over a lot of my life, and as he's gotten older, there's like a really beautiful balance I have at the minute. So thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I really, really enjoyed
oh,
this.
that's amazing.